A little warm today, I think. So we're at 8:41 in the morning here in the not so holy land. By the way, we're in a constitutional crisis here. I didn't have room to put it in the headline, but it's very serious. Netanyahu's again going full steam to destroy the democracy, and it's getting serious. I don't know how bad it's going to get, but I'll tell you what's going on. Don't worry. It's 79 degrees now, and we're going to hit 91. Not that bad, really. 91's not such a bad thing. For us, that's pretty normal. I remember when I lived in the Bronx that if it hit 90, they put heat wave alerts out on the radio. They were telling people, stay inside, stay cool, drink plenty of water and stuff like that. Uh, that was pretty much what they were doing. Uh, Here, if it hits 106, you'll have a heat wave warnings and stuff, maybe 103 or 105. But, last year we hit 113. It was amazing, you know. We have little air conditioners in every room in the house here, almost every room. That's how they do it. They don't do central. They used to years ago. They don't do it. And these are ecological air conditioners. So if it gets really hot in here, we could put like four of them on in the house, and your electricity bill is going to be high, but you're just doing it for a few hours in the heat of the day, and it keeps the house rather good, but not great. Your air conditioners usually knock you down about 20 degrees. So if you're at 90, you can bring it to 70 in the house, which is rather comfortable. Okay. If it's 95, you could bring it down to 75, which, if you got some fans on with the air conditioning, will be good. Okay. Now, when you start adding air conditioners in, like some people, like when I was in Florida, you'd have one central air conditioning unit, and when it was 92, 94 degrees or 96 or something, it was warm in the house. You had to use fans, you know, during the heat of the day. But there's some people had two of those air conditioners. So they broke the house up into sections. And when they ran both sections, the house would probably get 25, maybe 30 degrees cooler. The more you add on the air conditioners, the better it gets. I used to go to the movie theater in New York in the heat of the summer. In the afternoon, people didn't have air conditioning so much, and they went to the movie to cool off in the afternoon. The matinee was dirt cheap. For a kid, I think it was 25 cents. And they had two pictures back then. So you'd go sit there for the afternoon, and it was freezing in there. It'd be 92, 94 or something outside. And the movie theater would be, whoa, really cold. Okay, let's move on. So we're going to cover a lot of stuff about Iran. They are openly threatening to assassinate Trump. The people in Iran are in frenzies. They're running around chanting every day in the streets, revenge, revenge. And they're really emphasizing Trump and Netanyahu. But I would say the emphasis is, you know, uh, triple on Trump. They're not going after Netanyahu that much. Trump bumped them off, and Trump owned up to it. Um, and they're talking about doing it on their soil. And now the intelligence that's coming out is that the Iranians are working with the Mexico cartels. Now, the Mexico cartels would have no trouble working with the Iranians. Remember, it's Satan bot, the Satan bot. Okay. and they would have a vested interest in getting rid of Trump, who's giving them trouble with the drugs. So they're probably hosting the Iranians, giving access to their tunnels so the Iranians could come in and out. The Iranians might be giving the cartels some very interesting weapons like anti ship missiles that they could put on their drug boats and attack Coast Guard vessels. Maybe, I don't know. They could give them shoulder fired anti tank missiles. And if you shoot that at a boat, in other words, if you wait for the boat to be a few hundred yards from your boat and you all of a sudden you come out and boom, you hit a boat with an anti tank missile, the missile's not going to know it's not going to say, wait a minute, this is a boat, not a tank. I'm not going to explode. I don't know any better. It'll blow up. If it could blow up an armored tank, good night to the boat. Down to Davy Jones's locker it goes. You know, fire, explosion, sailors hurt, burned, you know. And they might not do that, but I don't think the Iranians care. They probably will. And what else are they going to do? I think Mexico is more or less going to host them in Mexico, have them have access to the smuggling routes to get into the United States. And these are going to be, you know, commandos. They're not going to be, you know, some lunatic that woke up in the morning and said, "Oh, I hate the Jews" or something. You know, that these are people that are trained commandos, and they'll have the weapons, the sniper rifles or whatever they're going to use, explosives, and the drug cartels in America will host them and keep them sheltered from the authorities and probably help them egress, you know, after they do it or attempt it to get out of there in one piece, most likely. Um, so we're going to talk about all this stuff. All right. And they're attacking more ships in the Persian Gulf, and Trump is running around saying things like, "Oh, they want a deal. Well, we're going to give them a deal." You know, it's getting a little stupid. Trump better wake up and realize he ain't going to make it to the midterms. The chances of him making it to the midterms is slim and zero. Okay. The Iranians are going full steam. They're ready. Now we're going to talk about what's going on with Russia, and we're going to play a scenario about the snare for you. My old standard scenario, but you'll hear it again, and it's pretty decent. Okay, let me go into the live stream and take a look at what's going on there and put a quick post up in the chat, which takes seconds. Trump has to be infuriated that the IRGC is announcing publicly they're going to kill him, and using uh, the Mexican cartels is it should be scary. Okay. Okay, I'm going to get my post going, which will take seconds. If one of the moderators hid you, there probably was a reason why. Why don't you tell us why you think maybe just possibly they hid you? I don't think they would just go do it for the heck of it. Okay. Check for typos. Yeah, I figured there was a reason. I don't think you just went ahead and, hit the block on the guy because you had nothing to do, you know. Um, okay, I got to pin this up now. Did I? Oh, I didn't get it yet. Hold on. Now I got it. And now I got to pin it. Uh, all right, everything looks copacetic, good. And I'll leave this and being a Bible believing site, unlike most sites, will do some praise using correct names of God and the Messiah. There is no God like Jehovah. 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 There is no Messiah like Yeshua. 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 Okay. I'll do a quick prayer before we start. My Heavenly Father, Jehovah B'Shem, Yeshua HaMashiach, I pray for a good live stream today. No problems, technical or interruption problems, and good teaching, good Bible teaching, good understanding of what the nations are up to, good understanding about the snare that America's in your word, in Jeremiah 50, verse 24, and good fellowship and a good anointing. And I pray that I can help the people and you can help me. B'Shem, B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach. That means in name of Yeshua the Anointed. Mashiach means anointed. Messiah means anointed. The real meaning is anointed. Christ and Christos means anointed. Okadoke. Um, Wait, I gotta look at this email real quick. It's one of our people. Okay, a prayer request for NP, Nancy Papa. Prayer request for NP, Nancy Papa. For NP, pray for healing from cancer in the stomach. For NP. Okay, and you guys can Pray for that, and I pray for it, B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach. Now, you don't really need to worry about, can God heal cancer? It doesn't matter, whatever it is, He can heal it, okay? It really doesn't matter, all right? Before I start, I want to tell you something that's just nuts in Israel. It's kind of anecdotal, it's not tragic. It's nuts. One of the parks here is on the water or something in Israel, and they're giving people a warning because there's puffer fish in the water and they've washed up on shore. What is a puffer fish? Well, in I gotta fix this up a little bit here. In Japan, it's exotic to eat puffer fish. The things they're ugly looking fish. They're usually about like this, and they blow up like that when they get stressed or scared or something. They have a toxin a poison on their skin, and they have it in the organs like the liver and some other organs. So when a predatory fish goes after them, it could kill the pufferfish possibly, and also kill itself with the toxins. Um, I think the other fish stay away. It's got little spikes and it blows itself up like that. And the other fish might smell it or taste it or something. They can smell in the water. And, because sharks know when there's blood in the water at a distance. So they have an ability, either they taste it or they smell it. I don't know, one or the other. And they might stay away from them. But anyway, the people in Japan eat this because they think it's cool. I think it's moronic. Okay. And the way it works is you have to have a licensed chef or cook that is licensed to serve puffer fish. Now, Japan has prefectures, which is, you probably call it a state or a county or something like that, and they're licensed by the different prefectures, but it requires years of apprenticeship under a guy that's already licensed. Now, I don't know, probably before World War II, they didn't have any license like this. The chef just had a reputation and they served it. Um, Idiots catch their own puffer fish and cook it themselves and eat it and kill themselves or get very sick. Two dogs in Israel almost died because I believe the puffer fish were washed on shore and they probably licked the skin or something, or maybe they went and smelled it or touched it. I don't know. They got some toxicity in them, but I don't believe they ate the fish. I could be wrong. Maybe they tried. So there's warnings going out not to touch the fish and not to go in the water and try to grab them or anything like that. These things could be deadly. Nobody died, but I never heard of puffer fish in Israel. I don't know what the heck happened. Uh, Really weird, you know. Um, so the guys that in apprentice for years have to pass a very hard test. They probably have a written test, and then they probably have to take one or two or three puffer fish and show the guy they know how to open it and clean it and cook it. He's got to wear gloves, and then you got to make sure you throw the gloves away, wrap them up in a bag or something so nobody gets the toxins from the skin on the gloves. I mean, who the heck would want? Would you want to go in there and have puffer fish? They love it in Japan. I guess it tastes good, but I mean, first of all, it's very expensive. because the chef that's got the license to do this isn't just going around doing it because he has nothing better to do. He's charging you. Okay. And then you got to buy the fish, and the catching of the fish and the handling of the fish is probably very tricky also. I mean, this is like worse than rattlesnake soup or something like that. The rattlesnake got to inject you with the toxin, and the poison's not, all in his body. It's up in the head. So if you cut the head off, people eat rattlesnake. I don't. I never did. I don't think I ever ate snake. They say it tastes like chicken. I ate frog. That tastes like chicken. What other stuff did I eat? I ate gator, alligator tail. That tastes like yucky, kind of fat. It's just like a lot of fat. Uh, this many years ago. I did it 2 or 3 times. This restaurant I used to go to had it as an appetizer. I used to think it was cool to order it. Uh, it's not so great. I wouldn't waste my money on it. Uh, I've had shark in San Francisco. It's so. It's not really that good. It's not that bad. It's not that good. Uh, Trying to think if I had any other crazy stuff. Well, I've had moose and elk, I believe. They're good. They're gamey. They could be okay. Deer. Uh, I believe I've had goat. Buffalo. No, that's good. Buffalo, bison, buffalo. That's good stuff. San Francisco had a restaurant. I don't know if it's still there or not. They called it Tommy's Joint on Van Ness Avenue, and they served buffalo. That was their big thing, buffalo. It was pretty good. I've had much better buffalo than his buffalo. I've had ostrich. That's pretty good. I've never had ostrich eggs. They're like this, but people do seem to like those. I guess that you'd probably take one egg and get 4 to 6 or 8 portions out of it or something. You're not going to sit there and eat the whole egg, fry the thing. I mean, you need a pan like this. Uh, I never ate whale or dolphin. I had mahi, I think they call it. Maybe it's not dolphin. It's like dolphin. I don't know. I've had octopus. The Italians have that. I've had that. If I had any other crazy food, people eat cactus, I think, but I never had it. Um, I've had barnacles. They serve that as a dish. I have had that. It was interesting more than something I would go back to. When it's all said and done, I like tuna, salmon, you know, um, sardines. I like anchovies. Um, and beef and lamb. My wife made me, or I think, bought lamb hamburgers yesterday, the little ones. Um, they were about that thick. I think they were lamb. They were pretty darn good. I Full of flavor. They were really reeking of flavor. That stuff can be pretty tasty. Um, okay, so let's get into it. And we're going to do First Corinthians chapter 1 and 2 today with the translations. Oh, I want to update you guys. I talked to you about the world falling apart and crime going up from time to time, and I suggest things like very high powered small flashlights, like 4,000 lumen that you could hold. They're about that big. And in darkness at nighttime, they would blind somebody enough for you to get away. That they're not, buy time, let me get away. Let me deter that person from bothering me. And you could also combine uh, a flashlight with a pepper spray if it's legal in your area for pepper spray. Flashlights are legal all over the place. Now you can upgrade. You can get up into 10,000 lumen and 30,000 lumen and stuff like that. 30,000 lumen in the daylight might cause somebody problems visually, but if it's high noon and the sun's glaring, it's very difficult to get that to happen. Okay. Um, like looking at a car headlight during the day, you'll see even the bright lights are on. You'll see it, but it's not going to blind you. So it's difficult. There are 50 and 100,000 lumen flashlights that should get somebody. Their vision should go bad for a few seconds from a very powerful light like that, even in the middle of the day. But it's really a darkness weapon, and that's when most of the crimes happen. And you can shine it in someone's eyes and get away. You could shine it in their eyes and they could get confused, and then spray them with a pepper spray, especially a foam that collects on their skin and their face, and they can't rub it off because it just rubs it in and things like that. They had their hands up on their face from the flashlight, and he pepper sprayed them with the foam. It would be on all their hands, so they couldn't touch their face with their hands comfortably. It just gets you out of there. Okay, it's not that you stand around there and keep it up. Now, when the eggs hit the fan, and there is no more functioning government, and there's terrorists running around and gangs of thieves that are murdering and plundering and everything. Okay, then the game is different. Okay, so then you could get into things like pepper spray with a nice knife, pepper spray. Okay, you could get into flashlight, pepper spray, knife. Okay, all these things are easily carried and concealed. I'm talking when it hits the fan and there's no law left, there's no government left, and it's just craziness, okay? Or invaders. All right. So there's things you can do other than guns. Of course, when you have these weapons and you use them on assailants, you could uh, upgrade to their guns. Now you have gun. Okay. A gun is a superior weapon. Okay. But a gun makes noise and draws the enemy. It may draw the enemy. A flashlight isn't going to draw the enemy. Neither is pepper spray. Neither is a knife. Guns run out of ammo, knives don't. Now comes for today times when society didn't break down, comes the walking cane, which is a self defense tool if you have some superficial understanding of how to use it. And if you're going to go for a cane, there have been recent advances in canes. It used to be the best canes were called the shillelagh, or one of the very best, which is an Irish blackthorn wood cane, a very, very hard cane, but it required seasoning the wood you'd have to cut the wood and then season it for a few years to get it really right. And then you had to treat it, and you had to carve it, get it together. You had to know what was the right wood. Then you got to get a tip on it, and a handle. It comes one piece. You try to get it one piece. A lot of them they sell like on the internet are going to fraud you. They're not going to put the big handle. The big handle's not one piece anymore. It's from another root, and they screw it on or glue it on, and that's nowhere near as strong as one piece. So the real shillelaghs are difficult to find. I imagine you'd have to be in Ireland and walk into the store and talk to the guy and say, "Hey, how long was this seasoned for? Is this ball at the end or the handle at the end one piece, or is it glued or screwed on? Or, how have you coated it? Did you put oil on it? Did you put a special paint on it? You'd have to find out all these details, and then you'd have yourself a heck of a piece of wood, but a piece of wood can break. A piece of wood can tolerate the water, like walking around with it in puddles. It's the technology has gotten better recently, okay? And the technology is, if you just want an really inexpensive way to go, you go to Cold Steel. That's a company that makes knives and stuff, Cold Steel, and they make polypropylene canes, generally speaking, and they're made out of, it's a plastic, and the things would probably last 50 years. They don't warp. You could leave them in the car in the sun. You could leave them in a car in the middle of a blizzard. They're impervious to water. They're very rigid. But if you were going to, I'm talking self defense, if you were going to strike somebody with it and hit bone, it's going to be more or less prone to, you might get a break but in the bone, but you're going to probably get a really bad bruise and a lot of pain, and you might disable the person. Okay, it's going to be bad for them. But if you use it with the sides to thrust with it into like the abdomen or the neck or the face or something, it's going to be highly effective. These things are $30, okay, on eBay. I mean, you're talking, or 40 or 50, depending on the model. You're not talking about spending, $200 on a really good shillelagh. You're talking very inexpensive, and they are uh, rather effective. Okay, the cold steel takes a cinder block, ties a rope around it, hangs it, takes their canes and smashes it into the cinder block, and they break the cinder block. Now, if you did that with a shillelagh and it was a thick shillelagh, it would break the cinder block. If it wasn't a thick one, it wouldn't. Thick, I mean an inch. Okay, you'd hit the shillelagh with it, and you know, with the cold steel, if you hit 20 cinder blocks with it, in a row, it wouldn't break, it wouldn't bend, it wouldn't go out. It might get a couple of scratches on the surface, but it'd be fine. The shillelagh, after you did it, I don't know, 3 times, 5 times, whatever, six, it would break, I'm pretty sure. So any wood cane would break. The hickory, the oak, the rosewood, the Irish blackthorn, any of them, they're all break. So you want to get away from the wood. Okay, you don't need the wood anymore. Now the cold steel stuff's been around for ages. That's not what's new. Cold steel makes a model called heavy duty. It's a fiberglass outer with a 2 millimeter thick aircraft aluminum tube inside. Now, that aircraft aluminum tube inside stops the fiberglass from moving and flexing. So it's really, really rigid, like an iron pipe or something, right? Not quite, but it's approaching. And it only weighs 15 ounces. It's less than a pound. And I don't know, $40, $50. And if you hit somebody with one of these things, it'll damage bone. Okay, it'll damage bones. Not just bruising. It'll break. It'll damage. So that's another advantage. Then they have uh, solid aluminum. Those are super great. They're on Etsy. They're about $100, and I'm thinking about making one out of getting stainless steel tubing, and I I don't know if I could get it done in Israel, but I'm thinking about it. Um, the handle would be stainless steel tubing, and it could work. Uh, it'd be rather cheap. I mean, what's a piece of stainless steel tubing and 1.5 millimeters? I don't know, 3 feet. Of course, I don't know, $10, $5. It's not going to cost you anything. Anyway, it's interesting thing. So that's another situation that's going on. Um, Also, night vision glasses generation one are out there now, and they're cheap. Uh, Generally, it's a battery, and you put it on. I had a pair decades ago, and I went into a dark closet where you couldn't see nothing. And I put them on, and you see everything, all the clothes hanging in the closet, stuff like that. Everything looks green, though. So you might be able to get those for $30, $40 or $50, maybe less. I don't know. Uh, the the better ones are, that I think they're up to generation 5 or 6. Those are going to cost a lot of money. You know, um, they haven't done much with the pepper spray technology that I'm aware of. It's the same as it was 30 years ago. Uh, the flashlight technology is growing. You want a flashlight with a wide beam. You don't want to get any of these that have a beam like this. I'm not talking laser, I'm talking regular flashlight. So if you hurt yourself with a regular flashlight, like you shine it in your eyes by mistake, you're fine. I mean, 15 seconds, a minute later, or 2 minutes, you're okay. You're fine. You're right back to normal. But if you had a powerful laser and you just swept it across your eyes even a quarter of a second, you might get permanent visual damage forever. Those are Having a weapon like that doesn't make sense to me. It's like having a 150-pound pit bull that's just as likely to bite you as your enemy. It's not effective. It doesn't work. It doesn't fit. Why do you want to have a fighting dog that'll attack you? That's stupid. You, you let him go loose, you don't know who's going to attack. Of course, that's always a good thing, a good sized dog. Um, you don't need psycho dogs to defend you. There's a lot of good dogs that'll do it that are not psycho, like golden retrievers. Golden retrievers are great. The red ones I prefer. They got a tan one. The red ones I like. They're very, very good with children. You won't believe it. They're very good with everybody. They're very smart. They have a will to please, and they will defend. But they're not killer dogs. So the idea is you get two of them, because then the pack mentality comes into play, and they'd attack a camel. When there's two of them, they think they're never going to lose. But they don't have the jaw pressure of these psycho dogs, and they don't have the inclination. They just want to be a member of the family and get along with everybody and fit in. That's their idea. And we had one live 16 or 17 years. They live a long time, and they're very easy to take care of. They housebreak like easy. They're good dogs, and just get two of them, or you could, if you really worry, get three of them. Uh, no people are gonna want to stick around with two golden retrievers going to work on them. Okay. Now, if you get Neapolitan Mastiff, I used to breed those, and they're 125 pounds solid muscle. I mean, if you took a Neapolitan Mastiff and muzzled them, and he ran at you across a big room, he'd probably put you in the hospital just when he hit you. It'd be like getting tackled by a pro football player or something. It'd slam you down, you know. The thing's got a skull that's about that thick. Really. I mean, I'm rather sure you could hit him with a big stick in the head and he'd just, flinch or something, wouldn't do much. Uh, they mine if he wanted to scare somebody, he'd get up on them and put his mouth in their face and bark at them from that far away. See, they scare people and scare dogs away before they kill them. But will they kill them? Yeah. We had a fence blow down from a hurricane, and a strange dog walked into the yard, and my two Neos were there. And he was a German Shepherd, I think. He walked in, and he didn't see them because they were just standing there watching him. And then he realized that they were there. He looked at them, and the two of them, she was 100 pounds, he was 125 pounds. They just looked at him, and they didn't move, and they wouldn't take their eyes off him. And he started walking out of there backwards. And when he cleared the the yard, he just took off. He didn't run full speed. He just kind of trotted away. So they were giving him a warning. They were telling him, "Hey, you got to get out of here." And they didn't bark. They didn't growl. They just looked at him. And he went. One time I was working, the male and a big Doberman Pinscher came running around and at about 10 or 12 feet distance, stopped and looked at my male, who at this point just froze and locked his eyes on the Doberman. And the Doberman turned around and ran away. They just, they they have no fear, but they just don't go out and wantonly attack anything. But the interesting thing with them is that they're not for everybody because they love the family. It doesn't matter how many people live in the house. They're going to get along with everybody that lives in the house, and they're going to know they live in the house. But they have no room in their life for anybody who doesn't live in the house. They'll scare them, spook them. It's not a good thing. It's got to be very careful. Are they good with children? Yep, if they're your children and they live in the same house as the Neapolitan Mastiff looks at them like a member of the pack. And yeah, they'll protect the children, they'll play with the children. They won't care what the children do to them. They can pull their tail, pull their ear, they don't care. They won't hurt the kid. But if the kid brings his friends over, they're not going to like that. They won't trust the friend around the kid. They won't like it. Their dog had we were breeding them, so we had a litter. So I took the both of them outside one day, uh, and put them in the front yard, and just to let the babies run around to get a feel for They were living in the garage, so I could let them have a feel for what's going on outside. And neighbor were coming over. And when the neighbor got about 15, 20 feet away, the mother just started growling. She stood up, you know. The neighbor turned around and walked away, you know. So, so the rumor is that the Iranian IRGC is going to be working, or they are already working. It's not rumor; it's intel that they are working with the Mexican cartels. I don't know which cartels. Sinaloa, this one, that one, to assassinate Trump. Can they get Trump? Well, let me tell you, the Secret Service is real good, real good. So if Trump listens to the Secret Service, it's going to be hard to get him, but they got to be protective against missiles, like shoulder fired anti tank missiles. That if you hit Trump's limousine with an anti tank missile, would it destroy the limousine? My guess is yes, but I could be wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. It would not be a pleasant experience, and the car might roll over, and that might kill you, or I don't know. But we're going to have to see what happens. I don't believe they can just take a rifle, get up on a roof, and snipe at Trump. I don't buy that. Okay. So they'd have to use an explosive, a plane, a drone, missiles, something like that. Let's see what happens. Um, our defense minister Katz, this is what he says. You see, now you're going to see the contrast between the way Israel deals with Iran and the way America deals with Iran. This is what Katz says. Any future Iranian leader who tries to harm Israel will meet the same fate as Khomeini. He said this while they're running around in Iran mourning Khomeini because they're putting him in his permanent tomb. He made a threat to him. And they mean it. Israel means it. They're not, they're not kidding around. They mean it. And, Trump is sitting there, well, they want to make a deal. They want to make a deal. They're openly talking about assassinating Trump, and he's sitting there saying that they want to make a deal. He's got to stop this. As the funeral process, as the funeral procession for Iran's former supreme leader, who's now dead, Ali Khamenei, courtesy of Trump, he's dead, makes its way through Tehran. The Israeli defense minister, Katz, vowed that any future Iranian leader who tried to harm Israel will face the same fate as him. While they were moving him to his entombment place in Tehran, you understand the difference between us and him. So they're probably going to try to assassinate Trump, not Netanyahu. Why? Because if they try to assassinate Netanyahu, Netanyahu will try to assassinate the leaders in Iran, you know, endlessly. He won't stop. It'll be constant. The Kurd troops have infiltrated into Iran. There's video of them running around. These are well trained, combat seasoned Kurdish troops in IRGC territory. So now the IRGC got a big headache on their hands because these guys will kill the IRGC. They'll take them prisoner. They'll interrogate them with a knife or anything. They don't care. They're just as brutal as the IRGC. or ISIS or any of them, Not maybe not as sadistic. I don't think that much, but UK fighter jets intercepted Russian planes over Norway, the Norwegian Sea. Why are the UK planes in Norway? They're protecting Norway from who? From Donald Duck? No, they're protecting from Putin. So Putin is threatening to attack NATO, specifically Poland, and Trump is moving thousands of troops into Poland. So he's dancing the NATO dance. Now, how is Putin doing with Ukraine? Well, pretty bad. Trump's hanging on by his fingernails fighting Ukraine, okay? They're like equal, okay? He's not getting over on Ukraine. Putin. Now he's going to start with Poland. What's the point? Okay. Poland is the country they use to bring weapons in for Ukraine. So Europe, NATO, Trump, whoever flies the weapons into Poland and then they drive them in or put them on trains and get the weapons into Ukraine from Poland. So Putin has a grudge with Poland for that. So he would probably like to bomb Poland to send them a message that they better cut this stuff out and not bring weapons in for Ukraine. Poland has no intention of obeying Putin. Not a chance. Okay, Poland isn't doing it. All right. It's not going to happen. I'm planning how I'm going to approach you with what I'm going to tell you. All right. I want to read you a scripture. Some of you are familiar with this, some of you may not be. Jeremiah chapter 50, verse 24. I have laid a snare for thee, and thou art also taken, O Babel, or Babylon, and thou wast not aware. Thou art found and also caught, because thou hast striven against Jehovah. The snare is for the daughter of Babylon, which is America. If you don't know that, I can't go through all that with you today. But starting around 2008, it got very widespread. People understood America was daughter of Babylon. That's about almost 20 years ago. I know they don't talk about this on Sunday from 9 in the morning to 11 in the buildings. Why should they? They don't believe it. Okay. So Trump gets his hands full in Poland, which it looks like is happening, right? Courtesy of Russia. And then maybe Latvia, Lithuania, Estonia, Sweden, Denmark, Norway. All these countries are very, very defenseless against Mother Russia. Okay? They can't hold up against Russia. Okay? No, Russia wouldn't necessarily go take all of them on, why all of them, but Russia could go after some of them. Okay? And cause America and NATO to go nuts. They got to start putting resources there. At the same time, Iran's ready to unload. Iran may try to take over the Persian Gulf states. And then let's say North Korea starts attacking South Korea. Japan will probably get involved in that. And China sits still. Now, Trump's got to help defend Poland, maybe Norway, maybe Lithuania, Latvia, Estonia, Sweden, Denmark, or whatever, right? Against Putin. Okay. And now Trump's fighting North Korea. The Tomahawk missile inventory is down by 50%. The Patriot missile systems and SADs are spread out all over the place. And then we all think China's going to attack Guam. Uh, I'm sorry, Taiwan. Maybe. It's not going to take a lot for China to attack Taiwan in terms of what China had. Now America has to help defend Taiwan, and then what happens? America finds itself being attacked in their homeland, invaded. By who? By parts of Russia, China, Iran, other Muslim states. other enemies of America, Cuba, whoever. See, a snare means you walk into something because you think it's good, you're going to get a gain. With an animal, it thinks she's going to get an easy meal. Gets in there, can't get out. One way in, no way out. Putin would not go after NATO unless Belarus, China, North Korea, and Iran and other countries were in on the deal. Okay? Putin's probably of the opinion if he can cut the flow of weapons off into Poland to go to Ukraine, he could probably win. He's probably right. Russia's going to be worried about an invasion, but again, an invasion of Russia would take, what, 1 million people, probably more, or it's a massive amount. It's huge. It has bad weather. Um, it's just a nightmare to invade that place. Russia's not Iran. Russia is way, way more advanced than Iran. Iran got nothing but missile launch capability. Russia has a formidable navy. They have a formidable air force. Okay. They have an infantry. They got armor. They got all the stuff. They don't have as good of weapons as America, but they got good enough to be a real problem. And they haven't been sending their good crack troops to Ukraine. They've been sending a lot of new draftees and stuff. Then Trump got to run over there and help South Korea fight North Korea. And Japan will be involved in that. And then they're going to be scared of Taiwan. They're going to bring troops to Taiwan, even if China doesn't attack. And China probably will do a small attack, make it look good, not big enough to make it look good. And then America is just too spread out. They're spread out with South Korea, they're spread out with Taiwan, they're spread out in Europe, they're spread out in the Middle East. Now they're a vulnerable target, and that's it. That's your snare. Do I think this is it right now? Not sure. It's sort of like very dangerous for Putin to do this, but he probably really likes getting the idea out that he's going to do this, right? But will he really do it? Is this the right time? We got to wait and see. I honestly don't know. Curiously, Cuba ran out of fuel and had an island wide blackout. I don't know if it's come back yet. Uh, so they need to get fuel to fix the problem. I think Trump is pinching their fuel flow. Uh, at the same time, Zimbabwe, formerly Rhodesia, uh, had a national electrical grid failure collapse on the night of July 6th. Today is the morning of July 7th, so it was last night. And they're saying it was technical errors on the part of the people administering the uh, electrical plants or plant in Zimbabwe. They're not saying it was running out of fuel. Now, probably they weren't running out of fuel, but I don't know what's going on. That one is just rather interesting. Cuba and Zimbabwe went on the same day. Isn't that interesting? Yeah. This Hamas is saying they're going to relinquish their power and there'll be a new government. But we're getting told here in Israel that not to believe this. And they're just talking. Uh, they really haven't decided in their own ranks that they're going to stop running the Gaza Strip. So there's a lot of news that they're giving up the government. They're giving up, what's the right word? The governing of Gaza. But don't be fooled by that. What we're being told in Israel is no, it's not real. Uh, I don't know what they're trying to do. They might be trying to play Trump as part of the snare. The snare might be going on Trump right now. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe they like the idea that there's fuel shortages around the world, and they like the idea that Iran is pumping, big oil tankers, 1, 2, 3 million barrel capacity oil tankers, and chugging over to China with the load now. I don't know. So Iran fired at two commercial ships in the Straits of Hormuz yesterday, and one of them was a Qatar gas tanker, a Qatar ship. Those are the negotiators, the Qatar. What a collection of idiots they're dealing with here. Amid stalled U.S. Iran talks, stalled, all right. Well, I think we could pick better words, but vessels reportedly sustained significant damage from projectiles. Did you spill something in the kitchen? I don't think so. Maybe water. This is like coffee. It's been poured all over the floor. I don't think so. I doubt it. Jordan is fuming at Netanyahu right now because they get water from us and they have a deal um, with us to get water, but it expired. And Netanyahu is apparently not renewing it or playing hardball with them. I don't exactly know why. I don't know. We'll have to wait, see if it comes out what's really going on, because the media is not putting the story out there yet. There's something. It could be commercial. It could be political, diplomatic. I don't know what it is. So Abu Dhabi is interested in holding a summit or meeting or talks. So with Israel and Jordan to bring back the water deal for Jordan. Now, I'm not sure why Netanyahu wants to do this. Cut the water. I don't know. I don't know what's up with that. We'll find out. They're talking about another project where they have the water desalinator run on solar. I think Israel has some of that. So the water, you don't have to put fuel in a generator. It runs on solar with batteries collecting electricity and stuff like that. Um, I think Jordan wants one of those. I don't really know what it is. Why Netanyahu was going after Jordan on this, I'm not sure. Um, there could be a good reason. Now, what's going on in Israel, they're calling a constitutional crisis. I want you to understand how messed up Netanyahu has got Israel right now. He has us really messed up. And he's getting the country more and more divided. And in the latest polls, one of the opposition to Netanyahu candidates is running like neck and neck with Netanyahu. I think he was maybe slightly ahead. But these are polls and they're early polls. They don't mean much. They mean something, though. Israel doesn't really have a constitution. We don't have constitutional rights. They have a name for what they have here. It's called basic laws or fundamental, you know, laws. They call it basic, not fundamental, which they say is like a constitution, and it is similar to a constitution, but it's not. For instance, we don't have jury trials in Israel. You don't get tried by a jury of your peers. Okay. That sort of, in my book, ends the Constitution. Now, the Supreme Court is being ignored by Netanyahu, the executive branch, and the Knesset, the legislative branch. The third branch of the democracy in Israel, like America, is the judicial branch, and they're ignoring it. And there were 10 petitions filed with our High Court, which is often called the Supreme Court, but it should be called the High Court. I'll read to you what's going on. After the government said it would not honor a ruling on the Second Authority Council pending cases on the Judicial Selection Committee, the October 7th inquiry, Ben Gavir, which they're thinking of doing something about, Al Jazeera, I guess they shut them down or not, and election period limits. I think they want to reduce the amount of time somebody could be a prime minister. Could trigger a lot of clashes here in Israel. The government's unprecedented declaration that it would not honor a High Court of Justice ruling on the Second Authority Council may not remain an isolated incident. At least 10 pending petitions on explosive public issues are now before the court, and future rulings in those cases could once again test the separation of powers, the rule of law, and Israel's basic government order. Okay. The October 7th, I lost my place for a second. Okay. October 7th political inquiry bill passed first reading as opposition boycotts Netanyahu, skips a vote. So Netanyahu's trying again to make an October 7th inquiry something he can control with his people. So of course he's going to come out smelling clean. It's a joke. Okay. The Netanyahu coalition backed bill would allow continuity into next Knesset and create a 6-member committee to this 6-member committee would be investigating the massacre on October 7th and why our guard was down and why the resources never responded in time and why this and why that. And the events that preceded this and the warnings about this. So the people in Israel that don't like Netanyahu want to see an inquiry done by people that Netanyahu doesn't have in his pocket and can't control. Otherwise, it's going to be a sham investigation, and they don't want that. But Netanyahu wants that. Now, the court may the high court would likely tell the, stop, would say they want to back an independent investigation, not something done by Netanyahu, but he won't listen to them. See, that's why I tell you he's a curse on Israel. He's an absolute curse on Israel. If he can get rid of the democracy, which means all he has to do is get rid of the uh, Supreme Court, make it that they don't listen to the Supreme Court. So Netanyahu controls the Knesset with he's got at least 61 votes, and he's the executive branch and the legislative branch. So they just ignore judicial and do what they want, and Israel's basically doomed. Now it's on many things. So this bill that they're passing would the coalition passed bill, Netanyahu's bill, or backed bill, I should say, show would allow continuity into next Knesset and create a 6-member committee to investigate the massacre, the war and events, and what preceded it, and so forth. So they're going to push it off into after the election because the election is the 27th of October, as far as we got the schedule for that so far. And they're pushing it into November. So after the election, Netanyahu's going to breathe easy, of course, right? If he wins. But if he's not listening to the Supreme Court, he might reject elections or something. The opposition party to Netanyahu are boycotting the vote. They're just not showing up when they're taking the vote. They're citing the uh, citing its firm opposition to the bill and its demand for the establishment of a state commission of inquiry into the massacre. Well, the state commission will be Netanyahu's hand-picked people. So they don't want this state commission because it'll be controlled by Netanyahu. The bill passed with the support of 59 coalition members and no votes against it because they boycotted the vote. Netanyahu was not present for the vote. He didn't even show up. Okay. To show you corruption in Israel, they have a union that's huge. The government's in this union. It's a massive union. I mean, it's got millions of people. It's called Histadrut. And the police seized 186 million shekels while they were investigating a corruption probe with Histadrut. That would be 60 million US dollars, roughly 62 million actually, US dollars approximately. The news, Lahav 433 is saying the funds were seized from insurer Menorah, and 5 senior officials as part of the Histadrut corruption investigation amid suspicions that insurance against um they're going after the insurance agent Ezra Gabai. uh they're saying he was paid to influence policy deals through union chairman Amon Bar David. I really don't have these details down. I don't know exactly what happened. Okay, but it appears that whatever happened was pretty bad. If they seized $186 million, and I suspect that what's going on here is that why this happened just as we're headed into elections is because they're hoping, and they're probably right, that it's going to implicate Netanyahu. Watch. I'm rather certain on that, okay? They pulled this rabbit out of the hat, and let's see what happens. There's a lot of people trying to get rid of Netanyahu in Israel, believe me. They know he's horrible for our country. The IDF, that's our defense forces, Israel Defense Forces, the service period for draftees is now at 32 months. While there's a freeze on, again, I believe this is against the Supreme Court, there's a freeze on to uh, the Haredi, the ultra Orthodox draft dodgers that are supposed to be going into the military are not going in, and they're not getting arrested because Netanyahu wants their votes. So he's pushing off the arrest of them until November, I believe. Um, let's read that. Updated bill removes the 90-day limit on freezing the arrests, keeping the arrest freeze in force until November 30th. There we go. So he makes it through the next election. So he's pushing the whole thing away until November, and that's getting the ultra orthodox back in his camp to vote for him. So the curse on Israel continues. In my opinion, he is the curse. And creating precedents for a future draft exemption law. That's what they're trying to do. set things up to just completely exempt the ultra Orthodox as their right. If you're going to study Torah, you don't have to go in the draft. Well, why do I'm sure that I couldn't? Well, I mean, a young person couldn't just sit there and say, I have a YouTube program and I teach Torah, so I study Torah, so I want to get draft exempt. You think they'll do that? No. They're going to say, you got to go to the ultra Orthodox. They're the only ones that can study Torah, that would teach Torah, you know, this sort of sickness, right? Shows you what kind of people the ultra Orthodox are. Uh, they don't care about us. They think they're super Jews and we're just dogs. They don't pray. They say that you need us to pray, not go in the army, but they don't pray. They read prayers from a prayer book, and they read prayers. They read psalms and call it prayers, and they don't pray. I mean, they just say they pray. They call the Talmud the Torah. It's not the Torah, but they call it the Torah. So they say when they're studying the Talmud, they're studying the Torah. They're not. Boy, they're horrible for our country. Uh, if they want to just be here, let them just be here. But they want to be here and run the country. That's the difference. And I tell you something right now, there's a lot of people in Israel that see through the hypocrisy, let's call it that, with these rabbis, and they don't want them to have any political power. They're afraid of them. They'll do a takeoff on Sharia law where you gotta, to do anything, you gotta be under their wing. Okay. You can't get married in Israel unless they approve the marriage and they decide you're both Jewish according to whatever standards they want to impose on you. And that's silly. They got people here whose grandparents are Israeli Jews, their parents are Israeli Jews, and they go to get married, and then the rabbis say, no, your mother's not Jewish enough. You've got to go through conversion for 2 or 3 years and pay us. So what happens? They get on a plane, they go to Europe, they get married, they come back, and they have the ceremony. What's wrong with that picture? Because of the rabbis and their overall stupidity and meanness, they're mean. They set the thing up so uh, their family and friends can't witness the ceremony with the hoopah and the broken glass and all that. No. So that has to happen someplace in Europe. And then they come back with the certificate. And yeah, the secular government of Israel accepts their marriage certificate because it goes back to our basic setup here, Aliyah. So, Jews are living around the world for 2,000 years, right? So they come back to Israel and they've been married, they've had for 20 years, 10 years, 40 years, they got children and grandchildren. So the government has to really accept their marriage, okay? So you come with a marriage certificate from any other country, it could be Nassau, Bahamas, Jamaica, Anguilla, Taiwan, China, wherever, and they'll accept it. So they go to Europe, they get married, and then the government accepts it and considers them man and wife. Okay, and now what happens if they want to get their children circumcised? Well, the rabbis may not circumcise them because they'll sit there and say, "Oh, I don't know how Jewish this kid is. I can't do that." You know, And then when the kids decide to get married, the rabbis go, well, we can't marry you in Israel. We don't know if your mother's really Jewish. It's good for business. You got to pay them for that conversion. Who put them in charge of conversion anyway? They have no right to convert anybody. They deny the Messiah. What are they converting them into? If they deny the Messiah, calling Jehovah a liar, what are they converting these people into? So back on this draft thing, the government is continuing to advance legislation that would freeze the arresting Haredi ultra orthodox for the draft draft evasion that and at the same time what these ultra orthodox are doing, the IDF is facing a shortage of combat soldiers. The men's mandatory time in the IDF is going to remain at 32 months. 36 months is 3 years, if you're wondering. Okay. Um, Despite an earlier plan to shorten it to 30 months. So if the ultra Orthodox were going in to the military, they were planning on bringing it down to 30, which is 2.5 years. The women, I believe, are still at 2 years. They don't go for 3. Um, See, Netanyahu knows no shame. Okay. How could this guy say, well, I think it's important that the ultra Orthodox pray for us? Well, because it'll help Israel. Then why do you run those parades through Tel Aviv and Jerusalem every year that would infuriate Jehovah? See the big inconsistency? And if the ultra Orthodox had anything real about them, which they don't, why would they support a leader that runs those parades? The worst leaders of Israel never ran those parades. Netanyahu originally started out to exempt the ultra Orthodox and make the period of enlistment for the people of Israel 36 months. So he was going to drag the people's enlistments out by another 4 months. And at the same time, let the ultra Orthodox who were blackmailing Netanyahu kind of for their votes, reducing, eliminating their necessity of going into the draft. Do you see what he does? He has no shame anymore. He doesn't even try to cover this up. Um, And they're afraid that he's going to play games with the elections. If an election comes out that he doesn't like, he's going to set it aside. Or if the polls are showing that Netanyahu has a 7% chance of losing, he'll probably go through with the election. If they come up and say he has a 17% chance of losing or something like that, or he may not have the election. He'll cancel the election or something. When you have a guy that doesn't stand for election, now you got a dictator. Former chief justices of our high court, I believe 5 of them, came out publicly in the newspaper and said that Netanyahu administration failure to obey the Supreme Court or the High Court rulings is putting the last nail into the coffin of a democracy. You listening to what's going on here in Israel? The name of these guys is Aaron Barak, Dorit Benish, Asher Grunis, Esther Hayut, and Uzi Vogelman say the government is threatening the rules of law, warning that court rulings must be obeyed to prevent democratic collapse and anarchy. That's what Netanyahu wants, so he doesn't go to jail. He wants to get rid of the court. Now, what can the court do if the government just doesn't obey them? I don't know what the court can do. Just pass more laws, more rulings that the government will ignore. So basically, they could do nothing. They can't command the military or the police in a way that would work. They got to plead to the public and tell the public what's going on. And if the public doesn't do anything about it because they like living off the corruption of Netanyahu, then it's end game for the democracy. The ultra Orthodox are now looking to pass another bill. See, when are they going to start a bill to throw Messianics out of Israel? When are they going to pass another bill? We had this the first time with Smotrich and Ben Gvir. They had a bill that if you spoke the name of Yeshua, Jesus, Yeshua in public, where there were children nearby, you could get a year in jail for speaking the name. So they're trying to blot his name out. Netanyahu was afraid to pass it. That would mean that the tourists that sit there and pray all over Israel at the holy sites, if there was any children near them, they would all be subject to arrest. See, I think they're afraid to pass that law. But I don't, because you got Catholics here, Catholic churches here, you got Russian Orthodox churches here, you've got Greek Orthodox churches. There's a a nunnery or a nun monastery in Jerusalem near the temple here where they live, they would all be guilty of breaking the law because they use the name Jesus, right? But what if they just decided to pick on the Messianics in Israel? The church wouldn't say anything because they didn't all those years when they used to, and they still don't let people. Uh, there was a Supreme Court decision that said if you're a Jew, you're a Jew. Okay, if you believe in Yeshua or Jesus, you're still a Jew. You can come to Israel. What happens when you come to Israel and try using that? They automatically deny your application at the government office of immigration. This has been going on for I don't know what 15 years during the Netanyahu days. Rest assured, during his reign of rotten terror. Okay, so the ultra orthodox wanted Netanyahu to do it, so he did it. So you you get denied. Now what you could do is get a lawyer, file in the court, which is not under the control of the ultra orthodox. They have their own courts, by the way, but they just use their own courts for family law, and they also use it for. I think it's only family law. The funny thing is, if there's two people are married and they're secular, and one of them wants to get divorced and files at the the Orthodox courts, the case stays in the Orthodox courts. But that's such a rare occurrence, But anyway, they might try to expand their courts. It's like a Sharia law court, but with the Talmud. Okay, you understand? So they might try to pull stuff like that that say all cases can go either to the ultra orthodox court or the secular courts. Then the ultra orthodox will be suing everybody because they know they're going to win in the court. You see what could happen here? The ultra orthodox are not our friends. They don't even want to talk to you. They won't go in your house. They don't want to touch you. They don't want you to touch them. They don't talk to you. If you talk to them in the street, like, do you know where Walmart is? We don't have Walmart here, but they'll stop and they'll say, yeah, you go here, turn right, go there. They'll do that. But if you don't talk to them, they won't talk to you. So they want to have gender separation. So the Israeli people are making a joke of this, and they're saying they're going to have us lay dual sidewalks. We're going to have a sidewalk for women and a sidewalk for men. Why would they do that? Because I don't believe it'll ever happen, but why would that? Because they would feel better about it because they're walking on the men's sidewalk. If they're walking on the women's sidewalk and there happened to be something on the floor that the woman didn't see and she tripped and was plunged forward and grabbed onto him so she didn't fall on the ground and she was unclean with her monthly cycle, he would be unclean by their logic, okay? By their Moses law stuff. Okay, so see what this is, I don't think gonna happen, but I don't know how far they want to take this. Um, in the, I mean, they might go. Well, I'll tell you how far they took it. Israel is now taking women into special forces. Let's call it commando units, right? So a woman went into a special forces thing, and then the rabbi that works with the army says all the ultra orthodox guys should drop out because there are some of them in the army that they should drop out of the um, commando units because now they're putting women in there with you, and they don't want women in any educational role. So if you have a classroom and they're teaching, I don't know, the ultra orthodox schools, if they're teaching, arithmetic, they want the women in their own classroom or the female and the male. Then I don't know how far they want to take this. They want to take it with their beaches. They put on the beach. They put up balls, usually aluminum or something, and they have matting on it, so you can't see. Right. And all you got to do is put it like, 6.5, 7 feet in the air, and you can't see what's on the other side. So the women are on the other side and they go in the water. Now, I don't think they can put this matting in the water, but maybe they take it in there, or I don't know. I really don't know. And they want them separated that way. They're going to town with Netanyahu. They're trying to hurt Israel, you know. Oh, God's going to drop on them. You see, the leaders of these ultra Orthodox are not any more religious in reality than the ones running the other phony religions. These are all Satan bots. God's going to get a deal with them. You watch. Um, I don't know if they're going to try. If they try to run the Messianics out of Israel, the churches won't do anything, but I know a few hundred people that will on the internet. I haven't heard hide nor hair of this. They're going to go, they'll start not that way. I think they'll start with getting the people to do a more serious evangelism laws in Israel. So back to what they do with the Messianics. So you have to get a lawyer. The lawyer files a motion, and the court lets you stay here while your court case is heard. You got to pay the lawyer unless you could get a charitable organization to do it. And when the comes time to get close to the trial, they come to you and say, "Hey, we'll make a deal. You could be a permanent resident here. You can't vote. You don't get a passport. What do you want to do?" And a lot of people do that. Other people don't, and they take it all the way, and they almost always win. What usually happens is the judge doesn't even want to hear these cases because they know that the ultra orthodox can't win. So they usually just throw the towel in, and it doesn't go to court, and you're going to what? I mean, they'll just drop off the case, and you win, and you get your citizenship. But you got to the guy has to prepare for trial and stuff like that. It costs a lot of money. Uh, Probably, I would think 99% or 100% of the people that do it win. Okay. Uh, so then they've increased their problems, and now you got to have an Orthodox rabbi say you're Jewish or something like that. Uh, they don't want to hear anything about you being Jewish unless you could get a rabbi to certify you were Jewish. Um, that's It used to be when Israel just started, you came to Israel and you just made a declaration, I am a Jew. So I wonder how many people here that aren't really Jews that just said they were Jews because They needed to go someplace after World War II. Not only Jews were displaced, lots of people were displaced. So I don't know what happened. Uh, so the ultra Orthodox are really wrecking the country. And I don't think the people were very happy about it. The Secretary of Iran's Supreme National Security Council responded to Trump's threats. This is what he said, to the President of the United States, who suffers from delusions and today threatened 91 million Iranians, I say, in the past, as the president of a root rootless a root ROOTLESS, a rootless country, no roots, I guess, with only 250 years of history. You used similar language and spoke about erasing the thousands of years old Iranian civilization. The result for you was only failure. The helplessness and request for negotiations and a ceasefire. The Iranian people are not deterred by the language of threats. Therefore, speak to the Iranian people with respect. Otherwise, we will respond to you in a different language, meaning war. Yeah, Trump's really doing it. He really got them going. Yeah, they're going to make a deal. A message from Iran to Trump. Okay. Now listen to this. This is serious. This is officially came from Iran. Listen to this. We will end you, Donald. Thank you for your attention to this matter. And he's, oh, they're dying for a deal. They're calling him delusional. They can't be right. See, yeah, he's trying to help the gas shortage and review thing, get the reserves up and stuff like that. But he's also lying incessantly, and he might be believing his own lies. See, crazy people, when they keep telling these lies, they throw themselves in it so harshly or deeply to get people to believe the lies that they start believing their own lies. And Vance, you can see what a puppet he is. He doesn't care. Hey, Vance, we're going to go tell some lies today. Hey, no problem, Donald. I love lying. I don't know if that's how he talks, but he sure doesn't mind, you know, following in the lying footsteps of Trump. They're really making a mockery of him, and they're going to make a bigger mockery of him. And don't think they won't try attacking the United States, because they will. And don't think they're not going to try assassinating Trump, because they will. Maybe they assassinate Trump and Vance goes in and gets him, or maybe they try to assassinate Trump, more likely. And Trump says, "Oy vey, if I ignore this, they're just going to keep trying. I got to wipe that country out." See, when his own butt is on the line, he's going to get the guts to wipe out Iran, because he's going to tell himself, yeah, they're going to kill me. Oh, gee, that's no good. I got to kill them. That's consistent with Trump. Trump will do that. We will end you, Donald. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Okay, they're coming for Trump. Believe me. I don't have people in the Middle East know they're coming for Trump. Can we tell you that they're going to get Trump? No, no. I don't think they will. I don't think they can, but they're going to go for him. Just the mere attempts at his life will get Trump to go crazy against them. Believe me. New intelligence reports indicate that Iran Quds Force, which is part of the IRGC, has reportedly established a unit called I'm gonna spell this. That's it. Mukhtar. Mukhtar, I guess. This unit is working with Mexican cartels in the plural. So it could be working with several cartels. I guess the Sinaloa would be in there, probably, and some others. Um, the unit is working with Mexican cartels, elements of the they also have elements of the Iranian people living overseas, probably in South and Central America, that are helping, maybe with translation from Farsi to Spanish, um, and to plan assassinations of President Trump and other U.S. officials. See, as long as Trump keeps showing fear, the Iranians are going to become worse and worse and more punitive. The puffer fish thing is being found at the Bite Yane Beach, which is near Netanya, which is like kind of central Israel-ish, 6 miles north of Netanya. The puffer fish are known to be in the Western Mediterranean. The Western Mediterranean throws us over to Portugal, Spain area, not here. We're the Eastern, you know, must be like, what, 1,500 miles away or something. And somehow they managed to reach the region via the Suez Canal. That doesn't make sense. The Suez Canal. I don't follow how that works. Uh, but they're there. So it could be ugly for people swimming in the shallow water. If they come up in shallow water, they could bang into them and get the toxins from the skin. Although, if you get the toxins from their skin to your skin, I think you wouldn't die, you would be ill. But if they punctured your skin and the toxins got into your bloodstream, yeah, you might die then. Uh, I never heard of this with the puffer fish, but I'm glad that the two dogs that came into contact with them, so they probably didn't eat them. They probably was smelling them, and maybe they licked it or something. I don't know. And they got sick, but they didn't die. So I'm glad they didn't die. I don't think you'll see these dogs eat fish again at any time in their life. Uh, the way dogs think is all fish are no good now, you know. So that's all. There's a lot of stuff going on, and let me check what's going on in the live stream, and then we'll go into the Bible work. Uh, am I 420 friendly? I never heard of it. I could look up what 420 friendly means. I never heard of it before, but why would I? Uh oh, it means with acceptance of marijuana use. That's what it means. I never gave it much thought. I know Israel is uh how does it work? You got to get some kind of letter from the doctor, and then you can buy it in drugstores. It's very expensive. I never give it much thought. I don't like the stuff myself because it causes, hallucinations. I don't think there'd be anything I would ever want to take, but I don't really go in that area at all. It's like liquor. People have liquor. I don't know. You can abuse anything. I don't know. Okay. Let's go to. There is prohibition in the scriptures about getting drunk. Uh-oh. Let me find out where we're at here, and I'll get going. I think I've got it. First Corinthians chapter 1. This is coming out of Salkinson's Hebrew New Testament and Delitzsch Hebrew New Testament. Delitzsch is more based on the Greek and um, translated into Hebrew, and I'm having AI put it into secular English. And the Salkinson's is basically a kind of reverse translation. They took the Greek New Testament words found in the Septuagint, what Hebrew word was replaced with this Greek word, and then put the Hebrew word back in. So it was like a reverse translation, and I'm having it put into secular English, so we don't have any uh, doctrines or policies or procedures from the church world in here, from the Catholics or the other church systems. Okay. Salkinson, generally, I'll read first. Okay. Um, Paul, a summoned emissary of Yeshua. Um, the designated king, the anointed leader would be better than designated, and that's how Delich puts it. But I'd have to read the text, the underlying text. But the designated king, I would say the anointed king, because the secular doesn't understand the word anointed because they don't understand anointing. Okay, the anointed king, I believe, by the pleasure of God and uh, Sosthenes, if I pronounce his name right, our brother, to the convocation of God. That would be he says assembly, delich. The Hebrew word we usually use is the kehilah, the ecclesia in the Hebrew, the called out from among that form a little community. Okay. The church word's wrong word. It's not a good way to use. They didn't have a church word as what people know the word to be today. Didn't exist then. Of God, which is in Corinth, to those set apart in the designated, in the anointed king, those sanctified in the anointed leader, he says, though it says anointed leader Yeshua. So he's basically saying Yeshua HaMashiach. Okay. Uh, you see, with these two together, you can make a translation that makes more sense. You can't translate the Bible unless you have really correct doctrine, which neither of these guys seem to have really had. Uh, Call to the holy ones with all who call upon the name of our master, who call upon the name of our master, Yeshua, the designated leader or the designated king in every place of theirs and ours. So if he's your king, listen to him. You ever hear them say, yes, my king? Listen to Yeshua. If you love me, you obey my commandments, like Galatians 5:19-21 are his commandments. Okay. Uh, Unearned favor to you, that means you didn't get it by your works, okay? You got it mercy and grace as a gift, okay? So unearned favor to you and peace from God. I believe that would be shalom or peace from God, our Father, and our Master, Yeshua, the designated king or the anointed. So Yeshua HaMashiach, Hamelech would be the word for king. Okay. I extend thanks to, well, he's making a point that, we didn't get here by works. Yeshua did the works that gave us righteousness that God recognizes, not the works, not the things that we did. The faith, believing in Yeshua. No man could come to him unless God does it. So you're the elect. I extend thanks to my God on your behalf at all times for the unearned favor, and Delich says unearned favor of God. See, that's very clear and graphic, unearned favor, okay? Um, of God given to you in the anointed leader Yeshua. Given to you in Yeshua. You're in Yeshua. I never knew you. You're in Yeshua. Yeshua's in you, that kind of thing. Spiritually, that you were made rich in him. Delit says that you were enriched, and I think made rich, in him, in everything, in all utterance, in all speech. I like all speech better. In all utterance and in all raw knowledge. And Delich says the same thing. Just as the testimony of the designated king or the anointed king was made firm inside you, was established inside you. That sounds better. So that you do not lack any gift of unease, any gift of unearned favor. See, don't lack any gift of unearned favor would be the gifts of the Spirit. Delich says that you do not lack any gift of unearned favor while you expectantly wait for this is beautiful, for the unveiling of our Master Yeshua, the designated king or the anointed leader, the unveiling. The veil is taken off. That's what, regarding Moses, he came down from Mount Sinai. No, he was in Sinai. And he had was it Mount Sinai? Hey, he came down from the mountain and he had the veil over his face. And that because he was emanating forth life. And then the veil is removed, the unveiling, the veil is removed means you could see Yeshua. That's what the veil means. And this is the unveiling, and this is referencing the appearance of Yeshua in the clouds, where we get everlasting life. And then what happens is they shall all know him, from the least to the greatest. Right? And he puts a heart of flesh in you, he puts the law in your inner parts in your heart. That's what happens. And when you see him, you become like him. See, the church has covered this up, and people don't know about this, and they wait only for the rapture in New Jerusalem, and they got all the chronology messed up, and they don't know Zechariah 12, and everything's a lot of problems. Now we're in verse 8. Who will also establish you until the time of the end, to be clean of blame in the day of our Master Yeshua, the designated king. To be clean of blame. Well, like You're washed clean. You could read that in Zechariah 13, the first verse. Trustworthy is the God by whose mouth you were summoned into the companionship of his son, Yeshua, the designated king, our master. So you were summoned, you were called. If I summoned you, you got a summons to go to court, you called to court. So you were summoned, you were called into the companionship of his son. God revealed Yeshua to you, called you to Yeshua. Not because you did such good works, mercy and grace. Verse 10. And I caution you, my brother, by the name of our master Yeshua, the anointed king, that you all speak with one mouth, and that there be no fractures, okay, no division, fractures of division break into pieces. He says that there be no division among you, but that you be members to get member, you be mended together in one heart and in one counsel. He says established, it says established together in one heart and one counsel. And this is a problem that's pointed out in Galatians 5:19 to 21. Those that do variants, seditions, and heresies will not enter the kingdom of God. Variance is different doctrinal statements. Seditions is divisions. I'm a Baptist, I'm a Lutheran, I'm a Pentecostal, I'm a Catholic, I'm a Church of Christ, I'm an Assemblies of God. That's all, you're not going to enter the kingdom of God according to the word of God. Read Galatians 5:19 to 21. Go reject the scriptures. Don't reject me. I'm trying to read you the truth and you're rejecting me. What's wrong with you? Are you a nutbag? Are you a whack job? Why do you do that? Don't you know you're rejecting the scripture, not me? And Yeshua says if you reject knowledge, he will reject you. I'm trying to help you when you reject it. What's wrong with you? You say you're a Christian, you say you're a churchgoer, and you don't want to believe the Bible? And when someone reads the Bible to you, you want to reject it? How could Pastor Bob or Pastor Mary be wrong? They're so nice. How does Satan come to you? As an angel of light. Wake up. A house divided unto itself shall not stand. That's what they're trying to do with the divisions. If you go to the church on Sunday and it's a divisive church, are you part of it? Yes. Are you a partaker in it? Yes. Are you going to enter the kingdom of God? Not according to Galatians 5:19 to 21 and other scriptures. But you want to blame me for that? Go ahead. But I'm not the one doing it. I didn't write the scripture. Verse 11, for it has been told to me concerning you by the members of the house of Chloe. Is that like the house of Louis Vuitton or Chanel? No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. My brothers, that there are physical strifes among you. Delit says contentions among you, physical strifes, fighting. And this I say because every single man of you says, I belong to Paul and I to Apollos and I to Cephas and I to the anointed king. Yeshua would be the anointed king. So he's given you the denominations here. Let me read it to you in a different way. Because every single man of you says, I belong to the Catholics. I belong to the Baptists. I belong to the Assemblies of God. I belong to the Lutherans. Has the designated king been sliced into pieces? Isn't that graphic? Oh, it's so good. Has the anointed king Yeshua been sliced into pieces? Dellett says, has the anointed leader been divided? Was Paul executed on a stake for your sake? Sulkinson says, was Paul executed on a stake for you, or were you submerged into the name of Paul? Were you submerged? Were you submerged means baptized? Yeah. So were you baptized in the name of the Catholics or the Pentecostals? It's so strong, and that people don't want to believe it. Because pride cometh before a fall, and the fall comes when he appears. And they're going to realize they ain't on the right side of things. But they don't want to repent. When you read them the scriptures, nope, they want to keep going to the church. They're not going to give up their family ties and their friends' ties just because the scripture says what they're doing is sin. They won't stop. So sin is their master. Sin has become their master. And that's who they listen to. They won't break from sin. They'll break from Yeshua because he's not their master. The sin is. I give thanks to, they went out from among you because they were not of you, but they stay in the places of sin. They love that. I give thanks to God that all they got to do is come out, ask God to forgive them, and they're fine again. I give thanks to God that as long as they stay out, that I submerged or baptized none of you. See, they don't like using the word submerged. The Delich does it too, because that'll hurt the Catholics. The Catholics spritz baptize, which isn't baptism. They just spray you with water. The submerging, which is symbolically you're dead and then you rise from the dead like Yeshua. That is the submerging. So the English translations all root back to the Catholics, by the way. They created their own, breakaway church. The submerging is immersion baptism, and they didn't do that. So this is very, very nice. Lest anyone, you're not going to get it. The English ones don't usually mention that. I never saw them. Lest anyone should say that I submerged people into my own name. Yeah, Paul. I baptize you in the name of Paul. Yeah, he never did that. And I also baptized the household of Stephanus or Stephanus, maybe. Beside these, I do not know if I submerged any other man. For the designated king did not send me to submerge, but to announce the glad tidings. The true gospel is good news. The good news. It's good news. Not with the intellectual sophistication of words so that the execution stake of the anointed king would not be simplified of its impact, emptied of its impact. Okay, so isn't Yeshua the King of Israel? Remember that song they like to sing, although it's not scripture. Hine Yeshua Hamelech Yisrael. Look here he comes, Yeshua, the King of Israel. He's the King of Israel. He's the King of Israel. He's the King. Okay. And if he calls you his brethren, even though you're not an Israelite, now you're going to tell me you're in the church, not Israel, and he calls you his brethren. How could you be his brethren and not be in Israel? Don't you get it? The devil's making a mockery of you. All Israel shall be saved. Do you ever read all churches shall be saved? Where's that scripture? Go find it for me. You ain't going to find it in the Bible. Maybe you could check the Tibetan Book of the Dead. There's no scripture like that. 18, for the speech of the execution stake is absolute. Foolishness to those who are perishing. You see, they ain't going to make it. But to us who are being delivered, it is the raw muscle power of God. The raw muscle power of God. That's true, but you don't get it from the English translations. Yeah, what Yeshua did on the execution stake turned everything around. The raw muscle power of God. That's very graphic. It's good. I like it. Verse 19. That's 1 Corinthians chapter 1, verse 19. For it is written, I will destroy the wisdom of the wise. Those are the wise guys, the espots, and the understanding of the intelligent. Those are the ones that are the intellectuals, I will cause to hide. Where is the wise man? Where is the scribe? Where is the deep examiner of this current age? Has not God made the wisdom of this world into absolute foolishness? Yep. For since you see, and the people not serving Yeshua and Jehovah are operating in the wisdom of this world. Witchcraft and sorcery is wisdom of this world, and the learning how to work in the business environment and political environment of the world and all that. 21. For since in the wisdom of God, the world did not know God through human wisdom, it was of pleasure before him to deliver those who believe through the foolishness of the proclamation. And Delich goes, it was a pleasure before him to deliver those who believe through the foolishness of the proclamation. Yeah, they see foolishness in what we believe. For the Jews demand a physical sign, Delich. For the Jews demand the physical sign. Okay. And the Greeks track down intellectual wisdom. But we cause to be heard the designated king who was executed on a stake, a physical tripping stone. Let's read Delich. For we cause to be heard the anointed leader who was executed on a stake, a physical tripping stone. Yeah, a physical tripping stone, the stake. Yeah, because it's so absurd to people. An absolute foolishness to the Greeks. '24. But to those who are summoned, both of Jews and of Greeks, the designated king, the anointed king, who is the raw muscle power of God. This is so good. You know, it's not another Bible compared to King James, but it's like, 3 times clearer, you know, who is the raw muscle power of God and the deep wisdom of God. Because the foolishness of God is wise, yes. When you got wisdom, you follow so-called foolishness of God. It's not foolish. We know it's not foolish, but the world would see it as foolish. The foolishness of God is wiser than human men. Yeah, it is much smarter. They don't get it. And the weakness of God is more physically urgent than human men. Delich goes wiser than human men, and the weakness of God stronger than the human men. Weakness of God is more physically urgent. No, urgent's not the best word. It's stronger than. Okay. 26. For look at your own. So that, basically the foolishness of the world, which is what the world sees us as, is great power in God, but they don't understand it, so it doesn't mean anything to them. Verse 26. For look at your own summoning, your own calling. Okay, my brothers, so speaking to the believers, uh, not many are wise according to human flesh, not many are rulers, not many are free-born nobles. 27. 1 Corinthians 1:27. Rather, God selected the foolish things of the world to share the wise, the foolish things of the world. Delich says, rather, God selected the foolish things of the world. That's us, the foolish things of the world, to shame the wise. Delitzsch, exact same words, shame the wise. And God selected the weak things of the world to shame the physically strong. And that's what you see, the feeble and Zechariah 12 becoming like King David, who killed a lion and a bear and Goliath. Okay, the meek, the humble, the feeble, the busted up old ones. Okay, that's who he's going to raise up. He's not going to use the guys that got the PhDs and the law degrees and the MDs that go to the gym and bench 300 pounds. No, 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 no. He's going to use the most unlikely. Uh huh. And the low born of the world. That's right. And the despicable, no, the despised things. Well, we're the despised things. God selected the despised things, God selected. And the things that are nothing to cause the things that are something to cease. So we're nothing and we cause the big shots to cease. We run the world. Israel becomes the head of the nations under God, of course, serving God. You got it? This is so clear, though, so that no human flesh can boast itself in front of his face. That boasting yourself. Look how great I am. I'm so smart. I'm so cool. I'm so groovy. I'm so strong. I'm so powerful. I'm so good. Yeah, no way. And from him, you exist in the designated king. You resist in the anointed king. You exist. The anointed king Yeshua, it says, who became for us wisdom from God. Dalits is the same thing, basically, who became for us wisdom from God. So we get wisdom from Yeshua, of course. And righteousness, and righteousness we get from Yeshua. And uh, setting apart and structural ransom. Verse 31. So that just as it is written, the one who boasts, let him boast in Jehovah. There you go. You want to boast? You say, I can do all things in Christ Jesus, in Yeshua HaMashiach, or I can do all things in Jehovah, or Jehovah did this for me, or will do this for me, or that. That's how you do it. You don't do it in your own. That's You're going to get into trouble if you start doing it in your own. Okay, let's try Second Corinthians. I think it could hold up. I think it's just 16 verses. Now I'm in Second Corinthians 1. And I also, when I came to you, my brothers, I did not come with the pride of speech. In other words, he wasn't, hey, look how cool I can talk. Um, or intellectual wisdom, like wisdom of the world, to tell you my testimony of God. For I did not, in other words, you didn't try to witness to somebody because you're so well educated and smart and polished and smart in the ways of the world. No, 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 that gets you nowhere. That gets you in a snare, is all it does. For I did not resolve to know anything among you except Yeshua, the uh, anointed king, and him executed on a stake. See, it's always a stake or a pole. It's never. Yeshua, the anointed king, and him executed on a stake. And I was with you in physical weakness and in fear and in great inner shaking, trembling, great trembling. He's been through the persecutions with them. And my speech and my proclamation were not with enticing words of human wisdom, but with the proof demonstration of the breath and raw muscle power. The breath is the spirit, the ruach, and the raw muscle power. It's the power of God, so that your conviction would not exist in the wisdom of human men, but the raw muscle power of God. Well, there were a lot of signs and wonders back then. See, back then they weren't trying to set up God's kingdom. So Paul went through all these tribulations when Enoch and Elijah are running around and they try to get them to go through the persecutions. The bad ones wind up getting burned up. We got to establish the kingdom and not playing that's the rules now. It's different. God's reigning. He's taking the reins, okay? He always had them, but it looked like the demons had them, but they didn't. Okay. Yet we do speak wisdom among the mature, but not the wisdom of this current age. He got it right. The current age, not the world, the current age. Isn't that great? So nice to read it for real, but not the wisdom of this current age, nor of the rulers of this age. The rulers of this age, I love it, because the rulers of this age are not the rulers of the next age, who are coming to nothing. Yeah, they they reap nothing. I like that. They get, you know what they get? They get bagel holes. Nothing. Bupkis, nothing. Ephes, nothing. Ephes is zero. Bupkis is Yiddish. Okay. Verse 7. Rather we speak the wisdom of God in a concealed secret. The Delich, rather we speak the wisdom of God in a mystery. We speak the wisdom of God, a concealed secret. They don't understand it. See, we talk about it, they don't get it. The unsaved. The hidden wisdom, that's the hidden wisdom. He's spoken parables. You understand? The hidden wisdom, which God marked out before the ages for our weight of honor. Delit says the hidden wisdom which God predetermined before the ages of our glory. Okay, predetermination. Verse 8, which none of the rulers of this age understood. For if they had understood it, they would not have executed the master of honor on a stake. That's very right. Okay, Delich, which none of the rulers of this age, those are the demons, understood. For if they understood it, they would not have executed the master of glory on a stake. They never would have killed Yeshua if they understood what they were doing. But as it is written, that eye has not seen, and ear has not heard, and has not climbed into the heaven of a human man, into the heart of a human man, the things God has engineered for those who love him. Okay, Delich. But it is written, what eye has not seen. The eye has not seen, and the ear has not heard, and has not climbed into the heart of a human man the things that God has prepared for those who love him. Those that wait on the Lord shall not be disappointed. And I think that would be what we might refer to as an understatement, because the things we're going to get, starting with when he appears, are so far off into fantastically good. We don't even know from such things. What a great surprise to look forward to. Verse 10. But God uncovered them to us through his spirit. Yeah, but we didn't really taste them or walk in them yet. For the breath searches out all things, even the deep, bottomless things of God. Delit says the deep things of God. You see, we read about these things, everlasting life and stuff, but we don't understand it. I mean, it's abstract. You've never had everlasting life. We don't know. For who now the demons, those schmucks that tried to go against God, and they tried to go against Yeshua. He was up there. You know, these are real schmucks. They tried to go against Moses, Elijah, Enoch, and so forth, right? And they lost what they had. See, they know what they had. They did. The everlasting life's not what they had. They had immortality, and they were angels, and they don't have their power, and they're really busted out. But they know what it was to have it because they had it for millennia, probably, and they lost it. That hurts. We know what's coming, but we don't have it yet. So we're going to be like, oh, can you believe this? Oh my God. I never saw it. That's the kind of stuff, the oohs and the ahs, the good ones. Verse 11, for who among human men knows the internal things of a man? Yeah. except the spirit of the man which is inside him. In the exact same way, no one knows the internal things of God except the Spirit of God. It's very graphic and clear. 12. And the First Corinthians chapter 2, verse 12. And we did not receive the breath of the world. That's right. It really is just saying the spirit of the world. We didn't receive the spirit of the world. But if you receive the spirit of the world, you run around thinking he who dies with the most toys wins, like Trump. He's, got the spirit of the world. But the spirit, which is from God, so that we might recognize the things given to us as a free gift by God. Okay? And you see, free gift, it's not earned by works, a free gift. Okay, 13, verse 13. And these are the things we speak, not in words taught by human wisdom, but in words taught by the Spirit, combining spirit matters with spirit words. I better go with Delich on this as well. Let's read and see what he says. And these are the things we speak, not in words taught or human wisdom, but in words taught by the Spirit. But in words taught by the Spirit, interpreting spiritual things to spiritual people. Okay. If you don't have the Spirit, you're not going to get it. Thus the parable. But the natural flesh animated man, and Delich goes, but the man soul animated, okay, does not accept the things of the Spirit of God, for they are absolute foolishness to him. He is not physically able to know them because they are evaluated through the Spirit. Wow, he can't understand it or evaluate it. Let's read it in Delich. But the natural soul animated man, the unsaved, the regular people, the man of the world, the man of this age, right? That thrives in this age, you could say, does not accept the things of the Spirit of God, for they are absolute foolishness to him. He is not able to know them because they are spiritually examined. The Salkinson's better. They are evaluated through the Spirit. Okay. Without the Holy Spirit, you're not going to understand the scriptures. That's it. That's what this is telling us. 15. And you're not going to understand the things of God. Okay. But the Spirit led man evaluates, judges, understands, dwells on, evaluates, to weigh it, evaluates all things while he himself is evaluated by no one. For who has known the mind of Jehovah, and he should instruct him? But we possess the things of uh, the mind of the anointed leader, Yeshua. We possess the mind of Yeshua. Okay. Wow, that was like always. These translations are pretty stimulating and a lot of fun. And they open things up so beautifully. It's great. A lot of times it's a confirmation, but it's a nice confirmation. Very nice. All right, let's see what I got going on in the live stream. All right, I'm going to do a prayer for us. My Heavenly Father, Jehovah, I pray for me and my wife, all the true believers and their households. That we would have your peace, safety, protection, joy, calm, rest, shalom, peace, and we would walk in the gifts of the Spirit, especially faith, wisdom, and discernment. And I pray that we would have strength and stamina and endurance and your healing and recuperative power flow through us. And for us and our animals and pets, we'd be safe, secure, happy, healthy, and whole. And I pray for the peace of Jerusalem. I pray that those of us that need a place to live would find it quickly and easily. Those of us that need to change our place to live for various reasons would find it quickly and easily and get good deals. And I pray that those of us that need work find work, good jobs. Those of us that need clients and customers, because we're self-employed, we would find that, and we all would have adequate money and then some extra. And I pray um, for better videos that I can make, better translations, and we would all understand the scriptures better. B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, spiritual warfare. I pray for me and my wife, all the true believers in our households and families, that if any of us have an unclean spirit, it is immediately loosed out of them, never to return again. And if there's any spiritual warfare of a negative way, bad spiritual warfare directed at us, it's cast null and void for all time. B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach. And I send my shalom to all those who love Yeshua HaMashiach, and I'm out. Thanks, guys. I don't know if this is turning off or not.